What's up, everybody? It's Greg Burge with Delta Financial, and this is the Be the Difference podcast. This podcast is all about making you a better person in your life and in your business with coaching on sales, leadership, mindset, marketing, everything under the sun when it comes to being an entrepreneur. And we bring on guest speakers. Today, I've got the honor and pleasure of welcoming Mr. Ash Khandelwal. Khandelwal. Oh, it's close. Khandelwal. Ash, how's it going, brother? How are you?
Going good, man. It's been a busy start of the year so far. You know, we're only into February and things are already pretty hectic, as it looks like it is on your part as well.
Yes, yeah. It's been good though. It's been a lot of growth.
Yeah. Busy's never bad.
Yeah, it's never bad. So for those of you that don't know Ash, Ash Khandelwal is a 22-year-old chairman, CEO of Ash Capital, and a social media influencer. He's passionate about launching, scaling ventures, and sharing his knowledge with others through his various content. He has raised millions of dollars for his fund and has achieved remarkable success in the past year. As a youth entrepreneur himself, Ash is dedicated to helping other young entrepreneurs achieve their goals, find success, while combating the stigma of being young. Everybody, let's welcome Ash Khandelwal. That's dope, man. So you're only 22 years old.
Yeah, only 22. I actually started the company when I was just about to turn 21.
Yeah. Dude, I like your energy. I can just I like it.
Yeah, you know, dude, there's nothing to complain about. Just love being here. Things are going well. You know, there's no point in having any bad energy anywhere.
Yeah, no, right. So so you started about a little bit after you said 21. What got you to start into social media influencing and marketing and all of that?
Yeah, so it's been like a long road getting up to this point. So, you know, it started obviously, you know, my parents are immigrants. I was born here. But they came here with virtually, you know, nothing. And they worked, you know, 5-6 jobs. And then after that, you know, my dad is a superior gifted, you know, coder, loves software engineering, and he ended up starting his own software company that, you know, still up and running. It's doing amazing. But he started that when I was around like 13 years old. And because I was kind of at that age where I was, you know, aware of what was going on, but not like, you know, I couldn't fully understand anything. But I was able to see, you know, how he kind of processed into becoming an entrepreneur and the work and the grit and the mindset that kind of went along with that. So, you know, when I was 14, I started my first company. That company ended up getting me invited into, you know, MIT's incubator program for entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. So that was my first, you know, real experience with working with, you know, seasoned professionals and being able to access resources that I never thought that I'd have the chance to access. And after that, you know, I kept working at stuff, kept moving, you know, kind of hopping from company to company. And then I decided to take a look at social entrepreneurship a little bit as well. Where I was invited to Stanford for an incubator there. And that kind of all played out during my entire high school, you know, 4 years. And after that, going into college, you know, I took up the family mantle and went into computer science thinking that was going to be, you know, the it, and I was going to go into all of that. And quickly realized that, you know, it's not exactly what I thought it was. And it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. You know, I'm a very social person. I like to be out and meeting people. I like to, you know, engage and do all that stuff. Not something you really get to do in computer science. So, you know, I had always been interested in the stock market and finance. I feel like that's the story that every single investment guy has coming up. But actually, it was a bonding thing for me and my dad. We weren't, you know, the closest. He was more closer to my sister. But once we started doing this stuff together, we had bonded a lot and started working together. And you know, that kind of grew a love for me into investments and the private equity space. So I ended up interning at some investment banking companies to see if that was the route I wanted to take. It wasn't. And so I decided private equity was going to be the thing for me. So that's kind of how I got involved with private equity. As far as social media goes, that kind of just came hand in hand with what was going on while I was doing all this work. Being in the space that I am with the resources that I am, I have access to a lot of cool things. I get to travel to a lot of cool places. I started sharing that. It just caught on. And then a lot of people wanted to know what I did, how I did it, how I got there. So I just started sharing that kind of content and, you know, it really took off. And that's kind of how I built that following.
Okay. Okay. And then you decided to start monetizing it and teaching other people to do the same thing?
Yeah, actually, I don't monetize it.
Oh, okay.
I actually teach people or, answer questions and all that kind of stuff for free. I think that the information is kind of available out there if you want it,
Yeah.
especially in a space like private equity. There's not much that you can teach. It's kind of about what you just do. So I just share my experiences online, and people can take from that what they will. It kind of provides me a little bit of a barrier with the amount of work that goes into private equity.
Mhm.
I don't necessarily have the time to one-on-one coach anyone. It just doesn't add up time wise. That might be something that I'm able to do in the future, but currently for me it's just about sharing the information.
Okay. Okay. And so with the private equity, what when you're, I guess raising funds in a large amount, what are some of the acquisitions or the uses of those funds? Like kind of talk a little bit about different things that you've done within the private equity space that have been more noteworthy or memorable.
Right. So my fund started out kind of in a Web3 kind of space
Mhm.
where we invested or acquired projects and companies that had to do with, Web3, NFTs, crypto projects, stuff like that. And that, had fantastic results. I think our first NFT project that we ended up investing with, we had an 800% return. And those are things that you don't necessarily see in the industry, which is kind of what set us apart at the beginning. But as most people know, that space didn't really work out in the long run. Currently, it's not exactly the space to be in, so we ended up pivoting into the automotive technology, logistics, and lending space, because cars is something that I've always had a personal attraction to. So I always knew that there's sectors in that space that are constantly overlooked, that are highly profitable. So, on our first raise, we ended up raising around $1.2 million. And we've taken that $1.2 million, invested in a couple of different companies, including some auto dealerships, exotic car rental agencies, car transportation companies, and one lending company. And so far, that 1.2 million has turned into over $15 million in AUM. So clearly, it was able to prove that the space is profitable. It can have high returns. We've been one of the highest, ROI companies in the field so far, and we're just growing from there. We're doing a current raise to 20 million actually right now.
Yeah. Dude, that's a massive growth. When
Yeah,
and how long did it take from the time that you invested the 1.2?
it took about a little under 2 years.
That's
So I
phenomenal.
think we hit that 15 AUM November of last year.
Okay. Okay. How does someone even get like, I mean, how did you get started in? And what's if someone's listening to this and be like, oh man, that's interests me. I'd like to get in private equity. Like, what's the best way to get into and how did you like step by step kind of breaking
So
down
there's
how
there's
you got into it?
there's different kind of steps depending on who you are as a person, what you've done so far.
Yeah.
It's a wildly different process if you're a well-connected individual with a bunch of rich friends or rich colleagues or something versus if you're starting from nothing. So for my process alone, I was kind of in the middle. I had known some wealthy people from my different internships and the connections that I made in the entrepreneur space. So I was able to go first and pitch to those people. But actually, when you're starting with no connections or nothing like that, it's always about finding a deal first and then bringing it to the table to entice people into it.
Mm.
Right. So my fund actually started a program. We're in the automotive space, so we call it the test drive program. And it allows investors to, rather than invest our fund minimum of $250,000, where they have to lock in their money for over a year and wait to see returns. This program allows them to invest at much lower amounts, around like 20,000, for 45 to 90 days with a guaranteed like 5 to 10% return.
Mm.
So these are like small little deals that we found, whether it's in vehicle wholesaling or in current acquisitions that we already have. But we find these little niches that we can target for the small scale. And that allows an investor to come in and say, hey, look, this has a guaranteed return, right? 5%, 45 days. In 45 days, I will see my money back and I'll get 5% more on it. I essentially have zero risk here.
Yeah.
And because of that, when they invest and they see that actually happens, then they're way more likely to invest, larger amounts of money at a larger scale for a longer amount of time, because they know that they can, trust you and they can trust the fund.
Yeah.
So those deals like that pop up all the time in real estate, whether it's a quick house flip, in cars, whether you're flipping a car real quick. Those deals are, out and about. And sometimes you just have to not make any profit on it and just let your investors have all the money. But if that gets them to come back and invest $1 million next time, then it's worth it in the long run.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the name of the game, is like just how your longevity.
Right. It's all about, creating the future and not worrying about too much of the present. I think so we started the company in 2020. I didn't take salary until I think last month was the first month that I actually took any profit from my own business.
Wow. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. For the whole over year, I took no money out of the business. I reinvested it all back in to perform new acquisitions. To let's say there was a deal that I wanted to do where I needed like $500K for it, and I only raised $450. I'd throw $50 from the company in to finish the deal and close it out. Just anything that I could do to close these deals and show investors that I'm capable of doing this, even if that means I don't take money initially. It wasn't the biggest deal at the time.
That's a powerful lesson that probably, you learned at a young age, which is
right.
fantastic. Yeah. But I think a lot of young entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, self-employed business people, they don't realize that concept, that you don't pay yourself. If you forego paying yourself in order to fund the business, to buy the leads, to put in systems and processes that are going to help future sales, that what you're doing is you're literally securing a brighter future, which is going to come with even more pay that you'll be fine with.
Right, exactly. And again, if you're taking salary and your company's not, it's not at the top place that you want it to be, the salary that you could potentially be taking in, let's say, 1 to 5 years later down the line, once you've exploded your company, is going to more than make up for anything that you could have had or experience you could have had in that time.
Absolutely. And that's so for all you young solopreneurs listening to this, sales, professionals that are 1099, you need to go back and re-listen to that and be like, what are you doing with the money that you're making from your sales? Are you funding it back into your business, or are you having that one sale then being like, let's go to Disney World, like most people do? Like they just want to like drop everything and go party and blow that money. Are you
there's a certain type of excitement that comes out of doing that first deal or making that first sale that does make people want to go spend that money. And it's perfectly understandable. I definitely had temptations when I was over the last year, right? I had plenty of temptation when I see all these people doing all these different things. But again, it's worth it in the long run for you and your business. If you really want it to succeed, if you care about it, then not living the most luxurious life for a year isn't the worst thing in the world.
Oh no, absolutely. This is business,
right? Exactly.
This is how you have to.
How business is done.
Yeah, this is definitely how business is done. So, what are some obstacles that you have? You're young. You're 22 years old.
Right. Yeah, that comes with a lot of obstacles.
How are you getting through that and like convincing people to give you millions?
Yeah. So, it's a little bit tougher in the space that I'm in, specifically. When you're starting a company, let's say that you're launching a product or something, the product kind of speaks for you a little bit.
Yeah.
And when you're raising money in that type of term, they're buying equity in the company, and they're believing in the product.
Yeah.
So in private equity, I'm expecting these people to give millions of dollars for a return that they don't even know for sure is coming, right? Yeah. So when people see me and then they see millions of dollars, then it's a little bit hard to get people to invest in something like that. And it all comes down to like I said, the deals that you can bring to the table and the way that you can prove it to them. So, I got probably like 5,000 no's from investors. throughout like the last year. And I'm talking even after I've proven myself, even to this day, when we've had these insane returns and we can guarantee returns, we're still getting no's simply because of age. And it is hard, but at the same time, like it gives you a sort of fire to make sure that you're going to prove these people wrong and get them to come invest, because they're going to see how well that you've done, since the options that they had. Like we had a deal that we closed out in I think it was January of this year. It was about a $200,000 deal. And our investors ended up getting 11.76% back on their money, including with their initial investment back, in 37 days, I think, which is, wildly insane. And I just candidly sent those results to some of the people who had told us no at the time. And now those people are all, blowing up the inbox to let me know when the next deal is. I want to get in on the next one. How can I get involved? Like all stuff like that. So it's all about, like, to a certain extent, proving yourself, but also realizing that your age can be a limiting factor, but it doesn't need to be. As long as you have the right mindset about it, there's everyone is going to have something that is going to limit them in business, right? Whether that's your age, gender, race, like whatever it is. Yeah. There's always going to be something that somebody doesn't like, or they would prefer something different. But you just got to find the right people then. If somebody doesn't want to, you can't force them to. So, move your efforts somewhere else where they'll be more appreciated.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And how is, that's a great way to I guess generate that future business and keep that relationship kind of open. Like you're not taking any offense, right? You're not like, hey, they said no. And then you're just being like, hey, just so you know, like, here's what we're doing is what you're missing out on.
Yeah, exactly. And again, like, you say it in a very positive way, right? Yeah. You don't insult them. You don't say, oh, look what you could have had, or like anything like that. You just say, like, this is an update from the company. This is what we've done. Yeah. I know you were adverse to it the first time we reached out, for X, Y, and Z, but I just wanted to let you know that, these X, Y, and Z issues that you had, didn't happen. They worked out positively for our current investors.
Yeah. That's fantastic, man. How do you see relationship building in terms of your business right now? And how have you, I guess, learned to, grow in that area, like challenges you've had, mistakes you've made in order to grow to the point that you're at right now?
So obviously the first mistake that I made happened when I started the company, which was I didn't have the right people around me. I was, keep in mind, I was still in college at the time of this. So I was in a fraternity, I had a sorority girlfriend. I was, full on living the college life. And, that actually took a terrible downward spiral, when I started getting more serious into work, because, you just can't manage the two together. And when people, especially in college, see somebody doing something like that, most of the time they're pretty negative about it. Why can't you come out with us? Why can't you come do this? You're always doing that. You're always doing this. You don't have time for that. They're not very understanding of all the work and effort that goes into starting a company.
Yeah.
So once I kind of cut myself out of that, I was able to surround myself with much better people, mostly entrepreneurs themselves, who understood the complications, who understood the commitment and the time effort. And since then, I've really focused myself on surrounding myself with people who want to have that ambition to either, be really successful in their own careers or start a business, but who understand that, even though we're in our 20s, this is our opportunity to take life, by the handle and really steer ourselves to success. So we don't have to wait till we're 40 or 50 to do the things that we want to do in life.
Yeah. So real quickly, how long did it, how much did it affect you negatively? Like, did you resist it initially to have to cut those people out of your life? How long did you kind of drag your feet but you're like, I know I don't, that these people are negative influences, but this is my boy, this is my bro, this is my girl.
Yeah, longer than I'd like to admit.
Let's
So
talk about that, because
I
a lot
was
of people have that. A lot of
yeah,
people have
yeah,
that
no, I
problem.
completely agree. So it was I met this group of people, and I was in this relationship freshman year of college. And unfortunately, for the next 2 years of my life, I didn't really do anything other than class, the standard, going on dates, partying, all those kind of things. From my freshman to my junior year, I consider like wasted, because I'm not saying that spending time with those people or having fun is a waste, but I could have been doing things as well. I got into a state of comfort, and I didn't really want to leave it at all.
Yeah.
Which is a problem that I feel like a lot of people fall into. As soon as they start getting comfortable with something, they fall into this rut. They stop challenging themselves. They stop trying to shoot for the stars and stuff like that. And that really mentally and physically hurt me for the longest amount of time. So when I initially got was cut out and was going on my own path, it took a good 4 or 5 months even after that point of going very, very downward into a spiral before hitting rock bottom and realizing that, what, this isn't what I want to do with my life. I'm sick of it. I'm done. I need to get my, stuff together and, bounce back.
Mm.
So even after removing myself, those harmful thoughts and the demotivation and all that stuff, it still clung on for a couple of months before I was able to finally get past it all.
So as you're talking, I'm having this epiphany in my mind, and I'm like, I feel like I'm solving the problems of the universe. You're young, but you probably have seen. You ever seen the original Matrix?
Yes.
Okay, obviously. So the fact that you were going into this life of comfort and it was actually affecting you, like you had you had enough self-awareness to realize that, like, life's too comfortable. I have more within me.
Hmm.
Right. And so, it was almost like the question that drove you, like, what can I achieve? What can I do? What can I accomplish? That drove you to do what you're doing, that got you to start your company, that got you to remove that friend group and get around the right people. But you were in that comfortable, you were in that rut. What's different between you? I've met all kinds of people I had this conversation with, right?
Hmm.
That that there are some people that are completely comfortable and they're okay living in a rut. They're
Right.
okay, they want that comfort and they're
Hmm.
completely fine with it. And to be honest, that's most people.
Right.
That is
Agreed.
most people. And it is over 50% of the population that are okay with, like, hitting that comfort level, hitting cruise control, and just
Yeah, absolutely.
let life take over. You're just sitting back watching Netflix, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But this reminded me, this literally, I has had this a vision of an idea. It's like, dude, this is like the Matrix.
Yeah.
And life really is like that, right? Because there's those people that are okay with living in the reality as what they're told to do. Go to college, get a job, climb the corporate ladder, have a family, get the white picket fence, a 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom home, have 2 kids, and then pass away. And, like, never make an impact on the world. Of course, that's not really said, but never really make an impact on the world and just live your life and feed into the overall system,
Right.
which is pay your taxes, do this thing, like, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Go
Like,
the same route that 99% of people go.
but 99% of people do. But then there's other people that when they hear that, they're like, there's something that it drives at their mind. Like, there's something more here. And they
Right.
want to break off and do their own thing. And those are the people that, like you, like entrepreneurs, people that actually become successful entrepreneurs because they push so hard for it. Those are the people that, like, they took the blue pill, man. They're just like, now there's something else here. And if you look at, like, the movie and the parables, like, there's only so many people that when they get to that point, that it's their own internal, that's within them, right? That
Right.
like drives them to, like, question reality. It drives them to, like, there's something wrong with what's going on here that drives them to the points where they can actually escape the matrix. So I like you're sitting here talking about it, and I'm having this whole epiphany right now, and I'm like, bro, this is like, and it's
Yeah,
good because there's so many people that are like that.
I think for a lot of people, I don't want to say everyone, obviously, but I feel like a lot of people start in that kind of comfort zone. But then there's usually like a trigger or two that kind of hits them at the point of life where they start to realize all this stuff, or they start to combat that kind of state. For me, obviously I saw what poverty was like.
Yeah.
I grew up very poor, never wanted to be like that. At the same time, I'm Indian, so I'm dealing with a lot of offensive stereotypes and racism that I'm trying to prove wrong. And then, with friends that we've had falling out, or ex-girlfriends and stuff like that, people that I've tried to prove wrong when I was doing all these things that, now don't matter at all. Those are just like all the small little triggers that keep hitting you throughout life to kind of keep continuously pushing you out of that comfort zone whenever you're in it. It's about recognizing those triggers and moving forward on them instead of just, acknowledging them and letting it pass.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, man. And I, like for the audience listening to this, like there's a lot that you can learn from Ash here. But really go back and think about, have the drive to step outside yourself, and then also have the courage to walk away from the people that are holding you back. Cause it's literally like having the wrong people in your life is like trying to do a run and like having like one of those
Right.
parachutes
Exactly.
on your back. It's like literally picking up every single bit of wind. And it's terrible. It's like
Yeah.
it makes it so much harder. It makes it so much more difficult to move forward because you're trying to run with like extra weight or with this parachute that's like catching all this wind. Whereas you can literally just get rid of it and you can
Right.
remove it and you can draft with somebody that's going really fast.
Exactly.
That's on
Right.
the
So
same that's on the same path.
that's what people need to realize is like, just it doesn't just stop at cutting out the wrong people. You got to find the right people.
Yeah.
Right. Because like you said, you can get rid of all that weight, but you're still going to be moving the same pace that everyone else is. You got to find the people around you who are going to push you and that you can lean on. And, when you get tired, are going to be there to make sure that you keep running as fast as possible.
Yep. Absolutely. So to go back to your story. So you were in college and you realized that like, yeah, I'm around the wrong people. So you started getting rid of those people. Then what was next?
Next was replacing them, finding the right people. So that didn't happen for some time. After that, I kind of went into a bit of a shell for 5 or 6 months, where I just kind of sat in my room and built this company from the ground up. Um, not a bad shell. It was good for me. I was able to sit and process things and really reflect back on what had happened previously with all these people. And then after that, I was around 21 at this time. I started to get involved with people who were older than me. I started to start making more friends, attend, some of these investor meetups and entrepreneur meetups that were going around in the cities around me. Traveling a lot, even if it was by myself, to help me meet and connect with people who were wealthy and doing the things that I wanted to do.
Mhm.
And more than any of that, finding the right girl actually helped me like so much. So the relationship that I'm in now, we've been in for over a year. And instead of gifts and stuff like that, we actually, I think we started dating in like August, and the first gift time of that is Christmas after that. And our Christmas gifts to each other were to start a company together. That's
That's
still
pretty good.
actually going now. So now every anniversary or gifting opportunity that arises, we choose to do either companies or experiences.
Mhm.
You
And
know,
that's having the right person in your life also, because dude, that's the person you're going to spend most of your time with.
right, exactly.
Like,
Especially when you're like an entrepreneur because you don't get to go
yeah,
to work. You got to work at home.
yeah, especially when you're working at home. This is the person that is going to have the most amount of influence and the ability to put positive or negative thoughts within your mind.
Right, exactly. It's going to be almost like half up to that person whether or not that you even keep going forward or not.
Yeah, I can tell you from experience, um, I've had, I'm right now I'm single, okay,
Mhm.
and I had a string of like bad relationships. It wasn't bad. It was just like, it just wasn't the right person. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So, but I had a string of relationships that I ended up that after we broke up, my business, every single time my business got better.
I'm telling you,
And I'm like,
there's
man,
something that happens after a breakup that just shoots you into overdrive, no matter what it is. Like, I think for most people, it's like the gym.
yeah.
But for entrepreneurs, it's their business. It's just everything kicks into overdrive after that.
Yeah. For me, it's the gym and my business. And
Yeah,
so
it's the same for me. It's
so I'm like, like either A, I'm just like, I have more time and I'm really focused, or B, like they were holding me back. And there's a I saw a reel, a while ago.
right.
It was maybe about 6 months ago or something. Anywho, so in this reel talks about how you want to have a partner that's equally yoked, right? So the concept of like iron sharpens iron, right?
Mhm.
So you have people that are like axes, and then you have people that are wood, right? So what happens to an axe when it hits another axe? It's going to sharpen. Both of them are going to
Right.
continue to sharpen, right? But what happens to an axe when it hits wood?
It
Well,
don't.
that wood gets damaged. But what happens to the axe? It gets dull.
Yeah.
So you could be that person, that A type, the one that's the go-getter, hard charging. But if you are with somebody that's weaker, that can't challenge you, that can't sharpen you, and you're going to end up damaging them, and you're going to end up dulling yourself. And I
Right.
was like, dude, that's so true.
That's super profound.
That's
Actually,
so
yeah.
true.
That is very true.
Like it's true. It's like pretty indicative of my previous relationship.
Yeah, and
And
I think what people, especially entrepreneurs, don't realize is that certain types of entrepreneurs, they never want to put the blame on anyone else, right?
yeah,
They always want to take sole accountability, especially solopreneurs. Everything is up to them, everything's decided by them. But they have to realize that other things that are going on in their life are having either positive or negative effects on them. And if they're not acknowledging them, then they're just letting them damage them.
yeah, exactly. So like the it's such an understatement to say like how important it is that you pick the right partner.
Yeah.
And think about it like this. And not to delve too much into relationships, but I think it's a good segue just because of how it's impacted you and your business. But um, in order to build a good business, like you have to put in the work, right?
Right.
In
100%.
order to build your body, you got to put in the work. The
100%.
problem is that people try to get relationships and they try to make it instantaneous. They want to like fall in love at first sight. They
Mhm.
want to this like have that instant connection. And relationships take work, right?
Yeah.
And so actually taking your time and doing a vetting process, like it's like think about it like, would I trust this person having access to my business accounts?
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh, yeah.
and like taking your time to like really go slow, vet them, make sure they're the right person, make sure that you guys are meshing well, and not just going all in. And I think that's the problem, is because we're as entrepreneurs, we're like go, 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 go. We're always 100% of the time, like sprinting all the time. And so we jump into a relationship and we're like head over heels, just jumping in, right?
Yeah.
And you should take your time. Work on it just like you do the business, just like you do yourself, your personal, your professional development. Like it takes time. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all. And in fact, that's probably the best way to do it. I think most people, you also have to realize it takes a certain type of person to deal with an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Because you're working almost 24/7. You're not always going to be there. One month you could be balling, and the next month you could be broke. You have to understand that there's going to be
That's
ups
so
and
true.
downs on the ride.
And it's also like sometimes mentally you're just not there. Like you're there,
Yeah,
but your mind is racing and other things,
right.
and they're talking to you, and you're like, yeah, you're not
Just not
hearing
registering any of
anything.
it.
You're
Yeah.
not registering any of it, and you're just there, present, but you're not paying attention. And that happens a lot because you're so overwhelmed and consumed with
Mhm.
like the problems that you're solving, right? And some people just can't handle that. Just that. Just that.
Just that, yeah, that alone can tear apart a relationship.
Yeah. It's just like you're never present.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
like I am present. I'm right here.
I'm right here. My mind is thinking about 80 other things.
Yeah. It's like it's difficult. And so it takes work, it takes time, and it takes patience on the person to understand like the life that they're getting into and making
Right.
sure that
And it's
they
good to
focus
be
on
super
everyone.
clear to them about it as well, even beforehand. There's no point in dragging something along for weeks or months when they find out it's going to be a deal breaker.
Absolutely. And you might as well. That's why, like, now, if I go on a date or anything, like, it's been once I've been on a date, but anytime I go on a date, I'm just like, hey, just so you know, here's what life would look like from
Yeah,
me.
yeah. Let me
Let
show
me
you
just
the
show you
next
all the
5 years.
bad. I'm gonna lay all my cards out on the table, because if it's gonna be a deal breaker, we might as well, like, break
Yeah,
this
might as well
deal
cut it now.
right now. Just 'cause-
I wish that I could say that wasn't like the best way, but honestly, it is.
yeah,
Like, you
it
might
is.
lose out on a couple relationships, but the one who sticks around is going to be 30 times better than any of them.
Yeah, because it's gonna be a grind.
Yeah.
So, so you got rid of dead weight. We'll call it dead weight. You
Well,
started
yeah.
you started drafting with the right crowd. You got the right relationship. What else did you do? Let's continue on that path.
So, being young, the thing that I needed to do personally, I kind of had the ego that I could take over the world from my bedroom,
Mhm.
which I, to be honest, kind of still have. But I always, my board of directors for the fund is all older people.
Yeah.
Right. So even though I'm young and I like operating under younger principles and I have a more, younger way of thinking about things, I'm still surrounding myself with people who are a bit older for experience, because that's something that, I'm not going to be able to have until I get to their ages. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Mhm.
Like, I have to have those people to help balance me out in a way. Because if it was just me, I'd be shooting for the stars every single day. I would be grinding nonstop. I wouldn't be focusing on anything else. And I'd probably be making like a lot of mistakes, and I'd probably be losing a lot of investors in those mistakes. And when it comes to things like contracts and stuff like that, not exactly my forte. Um, but it is theirs. So it's good to surround yourself with people who are also older, especially if you're a younger entrepreneur, and kind of lean on them for things that are a little bit more, business
All
focused.
that experiential knowledge and wisdom that they've
Yeah,
gained over the years. Yeah.
because without it, you're going to make a lot of mistakes that you're going to regret. So learn from theirs and let them help you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll do a quick fire round. What are some of the best tips and tricks? Like, hey, you're starting off in business. Here's like your top three things that you've learned that you wish you would have known when you first started.
God. Okay. Top three things. One, have a routine,
Okay.
especially in the morning. You need to be waking up early. You need to be having a plan when you wake up. You can't just sit and lie in bed and watch TikToks for 2 hours. You're not going to get anywhere doing that.
Dude, starting your day with a win, with
Yeah.
like doing something that makes you
Yeah.
feel
No matter what it
accomplished.
is,
Yeah,
make
no
your
matter
bed.
what it is. Yep.
Like, just starting your day with something that already makes you feel accomplished,
Yes.
especially when you're waking up early. It helps out tremendously. And then you have so much time to work than you would have before. And then you also have time to enjoy your life. You don't have to be working 24/7 because you're giving yourself those extra hours,
Yeah.
right? If you think that there's not enough time in the day, wake up earlier.
Yeah.
That's the one thing right there. That's my
Yeah.
number one. All right. Second thing would be, don't try to do everything yourself as much as you want to. Learn to lean on the right people. Obviously you got to find them first, but once you do learn to lean on them, learn to lean on experience and trust other people. Because as much as I believe I have all the answers and all the right answers, I don't. And it really comes to time, and it comes to term when certain things go wrong and you only have yourself to blame because you decided not to take the advice of somebody else.
Yeah.
Right. Now, you don't always have to take their advice, but at least listen to it. And then the third thing would probably be, um, find something to better a different part of yourself than just your mind. Right. For you and obviously me, it's the gym. Getting your physical body as healthy as your mental body, it does wonders for you. It really makes you feel like you're thriving in every single part of your life.
Yep.
Right. It doesn't matter if you're working 24/7 if you're not, properly nourished, or if you're not getting the sleep that you need, or if you're not, having some sort of physical activity. Because guess what? At the end of the day, your brain's not going to be operating at the full capacity that it could if you were doing those things.
Yeah.
So even though you're spending a little bit less time working, it's more efficient time and it's better time.
And I mean, this is this is a great one too, because people don't realize that the what is it, the mind, the body, the spirit, right?
Yeah.
So you should be working on all three of
Right.
those, right? Because if you let one suffer, it does affect your other two.
Right.
If
Exactly.
you, if you let your body suffer, it's going to affect your mind. It's going to affect your spirit. If you let your spirit suffer, it'll affect your body and your mind. And when you can work on all three, it's a weird compounding effect where it's like it's a multiplication instead of an addition. When they grow exponentially.
Right. And if you actually stop to think about it as like a triangle, right, it makes total sense, right? If you don't have the soul and the spirit to do what you're doing, you're not going to be able to do it, right?
Yeah.
And if your body's malnourished, you're not going to have the energy to do anything, let alone work for 24 hours. So you really have to keep all three of those things, at their peak condition.
Yeah, absolutely. That's like, this has been, Ash, I appreciate you coming on.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me on.
This has been great. If anyone wants to learn more about you or follow you, what's the best place and to see your content? I assume it's Instagram.
Well, if you want to find me on Instagram, it's ash.m.khandelwal. And if you're looking to invest or you want to take one of our test drive programs for a spin, you can find us at ash-cap.com. And you can find all the information there, and you can even get in touch with me there. So feel free to DM me to get in touch as well. I respond to all DMs, but that's where you can find me.
Very nice. Very nice. I appreciate you sharing that. Last question I ask all my guests. You have the opportunity to dine with, learn from, have a conversation with three individuals, anyone in history, living or deceased. Who would those three people be and why?
For me, it would, number one, which I guess he's a bit controversial now, but Elon Musk, I think, is, a genius and an innovator. And I'd love to learn about how he is able to, go into industries and take them over, because that seems like that would be very helpful for private equity. Because it seems it doesn't really matter what industry he's going into. He's dedicated to taking it over completely.
Yeah.
My next one would probably be Nikola Tesla, also another genius innovator. I love his story. I think it's so smart, especially, at the same time where he's competing with other big names, and he's able to, not live for the success, but rather die for it. Because, he didn't actually get recognized for anything until well after his death. He was working for the sole purpose of working his mind, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I think that's super awesome. And then third, God, there's just so many good people left. I think that I'd probably have to say, and this is kind of a weird one, but for those in the fitness community, I would love to talk to Chris Bumstead, because
he's a good one. Yeah.
Learning about that physical regimen and being able to sustain something like that while still being in a healthy relationship and living life and doing all those things, I think that's also awesome. I don't want all the people to be targeted around the exact same thing. I need to spread them out amongst different concepts to learn, the full potential from all of them.
Yeah, no, I like that. Those are all three like vastly different, but great picks.
Right.
So I appreciate that. For those of you watching, this was a great breakdown from a young entrepreneur that's found a success and he did it quickly. So you can definitely go back, listen to it, get value, and change your perspective about what you can accomplish in your life, right? And if you got value from it, all I ask a favor, is share this content so somebody else can get value, somebody else can learn, change your perspective, and grow from it, and maybe even get linked up with Ash Cap, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And they can change their life through that. So share this content. It takes about 30, 60 seconds to share, rate, review, subscribe. And but it means the world to both Ash and I. So this has been the Be the Difference podcast. I'm your host, Greg Birch. Until next time, we'll see you.